One of the things that really endeared PODEX to me was the leadership. And I must commend the leadership.
PODEX is a rare gem, really, right? It's going to be difficult for me to live here and work in a different environment that is not similar to this. You know, people complain about toxic environments, a place where you come in and then you are still, apart from doing the work, you are bothered about office politics, you are bothered about things like that that don't necessarily have to do with the work, right? But PODEX is different.
Leadership here is inclusive, right? It's not for a lack of better word, dictatorial type of leadership where the decision just solely lies on one person, right? Everyone is brought into the process to really flesh it out, and then we collectively come up with a solution and then a decision.
The leadership has been able to build an environment that encourages you to thrive. You can also see a growth path for yourself. You have a lot of things to learn, and they make it fun also while doing that. So I would attribute that to leadership.
PODEX is a home from home, let me put it like that. It's a place where you come to work and it still feels like a home to you. And that's because of the leadership of the firm.
It just really allows you to be expressive. And as you express yourself, whether your ideas may not be the best, you know what not to do, and then you know what to do the next time. So you keep growing. It allows you to grow.
We are blessed here to have a leader that has a vision. You know, he has a picture of where he wants the company to be, and it's clear. You know, when you have a vision, it's clear to get others buy into your vision. You know, there's a direction, there's a trajectory that he wants the company to steer, to go.
I admired the resilience of Kelechi to go forward, and that kind of inspired every other person who was seeing him. I mean, you could see his talent, you could see the talent the firm had, you could see his leadership qualities, which is a very strong aspect of his personality, his ability to harness the resources around him and bring out the best in those resources. This is one of Kelechi's strongest assets, besides, of course, his talent at design.
Kelechi Onyike is someone I've known basically all my life. We're classmates in nursery 1. We're classmates through my nursery school, primary school. Then we also met at the Federal Government College of Okigwe during my secondary school time. So he's been quite consistent. He's been always someone who paid attention to his studies, paid attention to responsibilities he was given, and paid attention to detail, puts his heart in whatever he does. So he's been someone who is very dedicated to every task. So I think that dedication, that attention to details, being able to navigate through difficult paths to ensure that the client gets their services done for them, get their work done for them, is something that I found very interesting.
Kelechi was introduced to me, and as somebody who was willing to work with me, right? We had tons of ideas. We had stayed in the US for about 13 years, and wanted to get a home because I had promised my family I needed a home in Nigeria. And so my wife had come, and we had all these grand designs. So Kelechi at the beginning came up with his own plans, his thoughts. But we tore it apart and we pieced it together. And in him, I found somebody who was willing to learn, willing to share. He insisted on things that made sense, and where he felt we could compromise, we did. Compromise not in quality, but in the designs. So we had American designs and he had his own local designs, but overall we built a home that we're still proud to call our home today. Okay, and it's been how many years? 12, 13 years, and solid property. It's beautiful. People come into the place and they still applaud the work. So that wasn't why Kelechi became a friend. It was really the attitude, his disposition. I saw a young Christian man who did not take advantage of my ignorance of the local environment. He worked on contracts, we had agreements, and he kept his own part of the bargain, and I kept mine, right? He introduced the young man to be project manager. I did not, Nigerians like to cut corners. You get a piece of the pie from everything. Kelechi wasn't that. It got to a point where the young man felt his value was no longer required. And he told me, right? Even though I was paying him every month. It was time to go. So Kelechi associated with people also who were like-minded. So for somebody who was coming back to the country after a long while, I came back to try and give back. I found in Kelechi somebody I could work with. And so we became friends. As we went down the line, I joined Union Bank. So I invited PODEX because I wanted somebody who could work with me. I was the transformation director. So I felt we needed somebody like Kelechi because we had problems with our contractors. These are folks who will not keep their words, timelines were slipping. So I asked Kelechi to join the group, and so he was interviewed. I wasn't responsible for that team. There was some other guy who was responsible, but obviously I knew Kelechi would do well. When he was interviewed, I went through the process. It got to a point where, yes, I introduced him, but what sustained PODEX was the quality of work, the integrity, the discipline, right? And his faith. The guy did things he said he would do. He delivered. So I never really followed up. There was no time anybody came back to me to say, the guy you introduced is messing up. In fact, he became the mainstay of the program. So he was now managing other projects, managing contractors. That's how far we went until the program really came to an end.
Kelechi is a learner. He's a curious learner. What struck me about Kelechi, or what drew me to him, was his commitment to the project and his creativity. When Kelechi started PODEX, I thought it was a courageous move. So I was very supportive of him. And I had seen him, I had worked with him. I understood his passion. I knew he had the passion. And then he also, the bit I also found very interesting was he had something a lot of architects didn't have, or I don't think a lot of architects have in my experience. He had a certain business acumen. So I saw that not only was he going to do architecture as practice, but he was also going to get into the business of architecture.
What I've tried to do is to stay close to Kelechi, and in some ways, as he encounters issues and we discuss, just help him to go through those issues and process them. So my style isn't to, definitely I can't force him to do anything. He's his own man. But just to have somebody who is a kindred spirit, somebody who is a believer, right, who wants to do the right things, right? So that is the binding force that's kept us together. So really, it's more of somebody who supports you in decision making. If you have tight, difficult decisions, somebody you can call on that will be there to give you dispassionate perspective. And then spiritual support. When you need prayers, somebody to hold your hand. The Bible says iron sharpeneth iron. So I think I've been one piece of iron in Kelechi's array of irons.